Hey, well, Chaz,
Hey, baby.
welcome back to the show. And you, how does it feel, Chaz? You were the first radical metal interview of 2025.
It feels awesome, man. And I brought up the history lesson because I remember I think you and I had discussed this. This was coming out of this was probably what, early 2022, late 2021, 22. I think
Yeah,
does that sound about right when
yeah,
radical metal started?
yeah.
And I happened to get a gig in that time period that took a lot of my creative time. So I had a lot of projects that started around that time. I could actually get into that later because that I'm finally coming around to 2-3 years later. But and of course, Kings of Thrash is still going well. But my point that I was making was that I think it's cool to see this thing grow. And I've watched the guests come on. I've seen some spirited discussions. I've seen your subscriber list go. I've seen the quality of the technical part of it go up, and that's as we live in the social media age. I'm someone that's kind of a student of that too, and you see a lot of podcasts out there and a lot of this type of content, and there's certain, not rules, but things you do for professionalism. For example, the thumbnail, I've been told, is very, very important. So it's because,
Yeah.
again, you got to think what's going to get people to stop and scroll with 1,000 options there, and that looks interesting. That's what it is. So I'm happy to see you growing and seeing you do it, and you look great, man. I love the beard. So
Yeah, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we're learning as we go and trying to improve.
as am
I
I.
think 2025, we're really focused on some major improvements and growing the
Beautiful.
channel. So we'll see what happens. But happy to start with you. And let me give a little background on you. We probably
Yep.
covered this before we had a real editor. I was editing it, but you and I met at the Megadeth boot camp back in 2017.
Holy cow.
And since then,
Almost 8 years ago.
crazy, man. So
It
crazy.
is crazy.
And we've been good friends ever since, even if from afar. So I think we saw each other a couple times, maybe. To continue the epic journey of Chaz, I remember you joining Anesthesia
That's right.
first. And I just thought how cool that was. Just admiring from afar, and living the things that I wanted to live out here on the East Coast. But then you had the audacity to start a Megadeth tribute, which is just the most mind-blowing thing of all. Well, we'll get to the most mind-blowing thing. Where, I mean, you're covering the most challenging riffs and singing of any band maybe ever, but especially
It's difficult. It's up there. It's up there. It's got to be up there.
Yeah, and I just remember just being so proud and just like thankful that someone was doing it and someone was doing it well. And woke up dead awesome. And you're still doing that.
Still doing that. Yep.
Then that leads to, and I know there's a whole story behind it with the whiskey and doing like a metal jam there and hanging out with David Ellefson. I know David Ellefson played with you on the street with Woke Up Dead with
La Jolla. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and all that stuff. So you guys and you knew each other from probably Megadeth boot camp too. But then led to Kings of Thrash, which is you, David Ellefson, Jeff Young, and Fred Aching. And then
sometimes Chris Poland.
It started with Chris Poland here and there. Now
sometimes it's sometimes Chris Poland, because sometimes Chris Poland,
And then I'm gonna jump to and I'll finish. To what you've been touring really off and on since February of 2024 to what? Just recently, November. Getting back from Europe
last year. So we started the first mini tour at the end of 2022. Yeah. And all of that is true. And then kind of Kings of Thrash, I remember that I think the first interview we did was like literally after that first tour. And I went back and watched it. And I was like, oh my God, you could just tell how high I was off the whole thing. And I still am. I love that project. Yeah. But we kind of Kings of Thrash was built and assembled, and to a large extent still kind of is. It's like, hey, because everybody in that band has got so many projects. David Ellefson's got Dieth. He's played with Overkill, Metal Allegiance. God, so many bands. Jeff Young has got some killer solo material. He guests with people. Fred has, I think at the last time, like I listed a couple of Fred's bands. Now I know more. Fred plays with Power Flow, Bullet Boys. He's got his own band, Dead Groove. He plays with Billy Biohazard. So he's very much in demand. So, and of course, Chris Poland's got Ohm and his own solo stuff. So we kind of just tested the waters out in at the end of the 2022, and just Kings of Thrash. We were like, hey, what is this? Like are we just going to tour? We can kind of tour and just sort of be this kind of Megadeth sort of tribute, but of course it's got original members, so it's more than a tribute. We're more than happy doing that. We dabbled in some original material last year, a couple years ago. We've kind of gone in and out of whether or not we want to do that. And it was like, okay. And now we're sort of talking about doing that again. So point being is that we're, and literally it could be anything, like I said, even the name kind of started, it was going to be something else. And then it turned into this, and then just the name just kind of stuck. And now we have the name. So it's the whole thing literally just kind of started as just sort of a project to kind of see what would happen. And it's been staying alive and successful for about almost 3 years now, which is insane. Let's call it 2.5. So
yeah, that's nuts. So at the end
we have plans. We have plans for 2025 and 2026. So
that's
life
great.
will continue.
And you're still having fun.
I'm having a great time, dude. I'm having an awesome time. I'm being tested in this band. They're but it's good, man. It's good. Like I feel in a lot of ways, I just am the least experienced member of that group, even though I have a lot of experience in other areas in music. It's like you've got Dave Ellefson, he's got a freaking Grammy, for God's sakes, co-founder of Megadeth. Jeff Young, platinum selling record, 2 platinum records. He's got the one in Brazil. He's got the So Far So Good So What. He's been around the world multiple times. You've got Fred, who's, like I said, I listed all of his stuff, and Fred's so they've all done lots of this stuff. So I feel like, in many ways, like I kind of had to step up and sort of prove myself, to sort of be capable of just fronting that band. And, it's here we are, like I said.
Do you still feel like you have to prove yourself at this point after 2 years of doing it?
Yeah, I think a little bit, I mean, and it's not necessarily to prove myself, but just to, I guess, earn, and it has nothing to do with them. It's like this with any relationship or anything. You just sort of, like I said, we were just thrown together, and it's kind of like, all right, well, let's just see if we can make it work. And I think after 2.5 years and something like 75 shows together and basically a world tour, we have the confidence and the we know each other now. So it's like we know what our strengths and weaknesses are, and they know, we know what we're good at and where we can work together. And I think that, I think and again, we had some grueling runs. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at is we had a grueling run on the last European tour that was 12 shows in a row. And I was worried. I was really worried about that. I was really worried that my voice was going to hold up. And that was kind of what I felt was like a crucible for me. A bit of a strong word, but it was a test. And then but I made it. We all made it, and here we are. And it's all good. So.
Yeah, that's, gosh, 12. You say 12 in a row?
12 in a row.
That's insane, dude.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Ellefson technically did 24 in a row because Ellefson was doing, he played about a 55-minute set with Dieth, took about an hour break, and then came back and did 90 minutes with Kings of Thrash. So he was in it too.
He wasn't singing very much.
Yeah. I mean, I had to. We have a very intense stage show and stage performance, which is which is why I was concerned. But the guys helped me out, and it was cool. Like I said, I felt like in that respect, it was a little bit of me sort of proving that I could step up and do that. So
That's great. Yeah, when I watch all the videos that are available, I mean, you always bring it, dude. And I really feel like you're bringing, because it means so much to you. That's the feeling I get.
Yeah.
That when you're up there and you're giving it everything, I get the feeling it's because it means so much to you, and that it's you're giving it. There's no doubt that if anybody watching, that you're giving 110%, man. You're great.
Yeah,
I told you all the time. You're a great front man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. No, and I think what it is it's a dream gig. Megadeth is probably my favorite metal band. I don't know. I really don't have a favorite, but they're up there. Like I can't pick just one because I'm a huge Metallica fan. I'm a huge Tool fan. There's a lot of bands that I really, really like, but Megadeth undoubtedly was one of the most influential bands for me. Top 3, top 4, top 3, whatever you want to call it. But I really love that era of Megadeth, like the era of the 80s. I mean, I love it all. But I always thought that, like, because the production was so raw on a lot of those early records, and the subject matter is so dark and so violent, that it's like it's really, really intense. That like the 80s Megadeth is kind of for like a certain subset, and it's not quite as refined as like the stuff in the 90s and beyond. But like once you get into that, you can look past that. You're like, wow, there is some like evil genius at work here on some of those early records, and I just thought it was so cool. Like there's so much intensity that it's on the 80s Megadeth that I've never heard anything like that. I'm blown away by that shit. Like it's got like the intensity of Slayer, but the musicianship is just on a completely different level. It's such high quality musicianship. Like I think I said this to some people at the Megadeth boot camp, and I was like, wow, what if there was a band that was basically like a thrash metal band, but they had like punk rock attitude and they had the chops of jazz musicianships. I'm like, wouldn't that be like the ultimate band? Jazz musicians. And I'm like, well, we have Megadeth. And that's like what early Megadeth is. It's like kind of like a punk thrash metal band with just these incredible players. And a lot of performance enhancing drugs too, but like, it's a cool time to celebrate that band. And I thought that I was so happy to be able to do that, and I was just like, I just don't want it to suck. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Mustaine will just never play a lot of these songs again. It's just not going to happen. So I'm like, this is kind of the closest thing, and I'm like, like I just want to make sure that I'm giving it everything I can. So,
yeah, that's great. And the Focus has, in case someone people don't know, the focus is on the earlier stuff. But it sounds like I'm not sure what the set list was in Europe, but it sounds like you kind of went a little bit more recent to, did you even get to Rust in Peace, right? A little bit of Rust in Peace?
Yeah. So it started as this, like, it started basically Dave Ellefson was like, hey, the 2 albums that the fans want to hear top to bottom that just don't get the love that the other ones do, or It's Killing Is My Business and So Far So Good So What. That was the first thing he said to me after we got off the show at the Whiskey. He's like, hey, great job, to be continued. Learn these two albums top to bottom. I was like, whoa. And then of course for the encore, you got to do Peace Sells, you got to do Wake Up Dead. So that's how it all started. Bringing Chris Poland in, we were just like, okay, well, why don't we do all the Peace Sells too? Because we pretty much learned it. So we did all those 3 albums, and then it's like, okay, well, we're just the fans, the fans, even though we kind of focused on that early Megadeth, they're like, hey, we want to hear you play all this Megadeth stuff. So threw in Rest in Peace stuff. Ellefson is a big fan of Euthanasia. So he was like, hey, let's let's do some like tip our hat to euthanasia. So we played some of the euthanasia stuff. It went over really, really well. Actually, we had a plan to cover all of euthanasia top to bottom, but it just became too much. It was a lot of work. And it's just like, well, a lot of the fans in Europe haven't even seen us do the old show. So we're trying to pick the best of So Far, So Good, So What, the best of the 80s material. And we tipped our hat. We did 4 songs from euthanasia. And that seems to be a successful formula. And who knows? We talked about doing stuff from Countdown, other deep cuts. The original plan was to kind of be the deep cut band.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much material in Megadeth's catalog that there's a space for Megadeth and Kings of Thrash to both exist, and the fans hopefully would enjoy both.
For euthanasia, I know you guys who did Train of Consequence. Did you guys do? Can I guess at least one other? Did you do Victory?
Guess. Oh yeah. See if you can guess the 4. So we did. Well, I mean that's half of them, but we did Train of Consequences, Reckoning Day, Victory, and Killing Road.
Oh, nice. Because you remember we did Victory not too long after Megadeth Boot Camp.
We did, and that cover is out there. That out there, the internet land. That was a great cover. We had Raphael Milan. Milan is out. Props to Milan, who was on that. Raphael was on it. You did the vocals and guitar. I played lead guitar. Was there anybody else on it?
I did one lead. You did both Marty Friedman leads, and Milan did the Dave.
Did Dave. Dustin.
Oh, I guess mine was Dave too. The tapping.
Yeah. Did Dustin? I can't remember. It's been a while. It's out there though on YouTube.
Yeah, Dustin. He played rhythm, and then Hugo played bass.
Hugo played bass. I was going to ask who played bass, but there you go. Sweet. Fucking A.
Yeah. And then Rafi played drums. I was really stoked that he agreed to do that.
Yeah, Raphael's cool, man. We have some mutual friends. I should hit him up, because I think Rafi still works with a lot of people in the Megadeth camp, and it's kind of cool. Like because of Dave Ellison's relationship, there's people in the Megadeth camp that are fans of Kings of Thrash. They've sent us stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh, we love what you guys are doing." So it's cool,
Yeah, like Dave McRobb.
Pretty sure it's all good. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's all good. It's cool. Like. I think Mustaine even finally he mentioned one comment about Kings of Thrash once, and it was all good. It was just like, yeah, cool. I'm glad those guys are playing the old songs, and glad the fans get to hear it, and everybody wins.
Give me a couple highlights from Australia.
Australia. And for context, Kings of Thrash did 2 tours in Australia, 2023, 2024. Oh man, I got some really good highlights. But we'll, not that we have a rating on this, but that one maybe I'll share off the air. So the first time I went to Australia in 2023, that was my first trans-Pacific flight. My first time, other than Mexico and like Vancouver, Canada. First time leaving the country, so that was cool. And then, what a way to do it. That was also a test too, because those were all fly dates. And, again, I'm just learning how to kind of take care of my voice as a singer on the road. It's the most important thing. So like my voice got tested on that first run just because I wasn't getting much sleep. I brought a ton of gear and like I was carrying it to the airport, and like I just wore myself out. I was so tired. So, but the first Australia run was really cool because just seeing that kind of reception. Every single show was I think we had a couple sellouts. If they weren't sellouts, they were real damn close. So just seeing that reaction the first time in Australia was so cool, and then it was such a successful run that and this is rare for the what I was told, that it was so successful that they brought us back 1 year later. So and like most bands when they hit Australia, they'll at least wait a few years between each one because it's you don't want to oversaturate your market. But ours was so successful, they brought us back added. I'm looking at the poster right now. I think we added 1 or 2 shows, some cities that we didn't hit the previous time, and we brought Chris Poland, and we changed the show slightly, and we did all of P Cells. This was last year, and it was just as successful, So the crowds were awesome. The fans were cool, and I think the second time around, it was really cool. It kind of I think opened my eyes to like the real magic of touring, because like I remembered a lot of the people the first time around. So I remembered a lot of the people from 2023 in 2024. So I felt like connected to them. I went out there and I was like, oh man, you guys are like my buddy Jeremy, if you're watching, what's up? Like I met him the first time around. Then we hung out the second time, and then now he's a buddy. I chat with him. We chat politics. He's a radical moderate too. Just he's concerned about radicals on either side of the aisle, just going too crazy. So it's like, bring it back, people. We don't want to go down that road. So it was just cool. I felt really connected to the fans the second time around, seeing people that I recognized and just being familiar with them, being familiar with Doug and Amabel from Hardline Media, who are just some of the coolest people in the world. And the second time I was much more relaxed. I knew the cities, so I felt welcome, and that was just so awesome. So awesome.
That's great.
Oh God, Australia! It felt like coming back to a place that I knew.
How do you fight off, or how do you mitigate when you're worn down, like on the first time, and keep your voice intact? Is it lots of tea?
One was sheer guts. I'm much better at it, and I'm much more confident. I mean, I did 12 in a row, so I don't want to get cocky here. I'm not going to get cocky, but I'm like, okay, I think I can handle some pretty tough situations. But the first one, okay, so yeah, I mean, it's out there. I'm not proud of somebody filmed the entire Sydney show. So I think that night, I drank a lot of tea, and then I went into, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to have to like do some like moisture humidifier, do a lot of vocal exercises to try to get it back. So I went into, this is probably about a couple hours before we left to go to the venue. We all had our own hotel rooms, which was awesome. So I went into the shower and I just steamed up the shower like nobody's business. I just had all of that stuff going in there, basically created a sauna in my hotel room. And I kind of breathed all that in. I did a lot of vocal exercises in the middle of that, steaming freaking bathroom. And like, my voice kind of came back enough to where I felt comfortable to do the show, and there you go. So, but and then, you could hear it at the show. My voice is definitely hurting at that show, but it was really, really bad that morning. So that was a desperation move, and it paid off. But the key is to prepare ahead of time and to get a lot of sleep and drink and don't party, don't talk to people, drink tea, not alcohol, tea. Yeah. Don't talk to people and kind of keep to yourself, which sometimes I wonder if when you're on tour, the singer sometimes gets a bad rap because he's not talking to anybody. Everyone's like, oh, dude, why are you the big party pooper? It's like, I'm not a party pooper. I'd love to go party with you guys. I need to rest my freaking voice. Sorry, I'm not Mr. Social right now. I want to be, but I can't sit here and chat with you guys for hours because I need to perform, So
I think a lot of people probably just don't realize that how closely related your vocals are to just how your body feels. And if you're run down, man, you got to be like the whole well-rested thing. And how do you do that when you're on a different, completely opposite time zone?
Yeah. Well, the fly dates are brutal. Like when you go out and you fly out every day, that's rough. That's hard, and you're kind of rolling the dice with that. But for like, here was one advantage of the European tour that we did. I mean, we just finished a couple months ago. We did have a bus, and some people can't sleep on a bus. I sleep great on buses. I love it. I love the bus. I don't know what it is. I just kind of love being wrapped in my little coffin, and it just rocks me to sleep. It's great. So I don't have any problem sleeping on a bus. But yeah, I did a lot of sleeping, a lot of resting, and having that kind of mobile hotel room. The buses were awesome too, man. They were we had 2 killer buses in Europe. Very expensive, but they were great. That's, I think, how we were able to do it. So
Can you? That makes me think of. Wasn't going to ask this, and you don't have to answer it either. But what's the money like for you? Or can you talk about it?
Yeah,
We can talk about it offline too.
No. You can. The tours were successful. They were profitable. They're and which is huge. They're profitable. Could they have been more profitable? Sure, but hey, look, man, we're learning. Everybody out there is not everybody, but there's. I mean, I just read an article about Avenged Sevenfold talking about how that band has trouble making money on the road. Mustaine had an article from last year where he actually detailed the expenses of like just how much a day was. Now, again, that's at that level. Megadeth, Avenged Sevenfold, that's about top of the food chain.
Mastodon has talked about it a lot. Mastodon, because of production.
Anthrax canceled the European tour last year. There's a lot of bands that cancel tours because they don't anticipate the costs. And we stuck it out, and we were profitable. And in my mind, that's a success. So I mean, there's other people that it's their job to manage that more, and of course, you want more profit. But again, for me, I'm happy. I'm happy to do it. So
in Europe, especially, right? Europe is way more expensive for obvious reasons, maybe some non-obvious reasons. But I keep hearing that too. That's
Europe was expensive, except for. Well, let me ask you: Have you? Because you're a man of the world, former Marine. Where were you? You were stationed in Africa, right?
Liberia.
That's right.
Liberia and Republic of Georgia.
Okay. Now, and have you been to Europe or done any of that sort of travel?
Yeah, I spent a year in Italy in college.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah. Very cool.
I traveled a lot with my dad growing up too, because he had an international type of job. So been all over like Southeast Asia, awesome. Israel, Sri Lanka, a bunch of different places.
That's awesome, dude. Man, people had told me for so long, like, dude, you got to travel. It will open your eyes. So like we can tell you about it till the cows come home, but until you actually get out there and see the world, they're like, just go get out there and see it for yourself. And then when you come back, you will understand. And and to be able to go out and tour, like literally tour Europe. Like, I mean, we basically ran all the way over that continent. It's eye-opening. It's so cool to see that. It puts things in perspective. It does make you understand how people view the United States a little bit differently. It also makes you think, at least I think, some of the good things about the U.S. and some of the not so good things. But there are plenty of good things, amazing things about the United States, and it puts things in perspective. So we can come back to travel, but yeah, it was cool. It was so cool. It was expensive. Europe was expensive. So awesome to see Europe. Eye-opening. Although there were parts like I said, I thought Greece was cool because our money went very far down there in Greece, and obviously or maybe not obviously, but their economy is not doing super great.
Yeah.
So they were very, I think, very grateful of the tourist money. But I had a great time in Greece. Great time, great people, beautiful people. It was cool.
I love Greece.
But outside of Greece, Greece was awesome, dude. People ask me, they're like, what were your top 3 destinations in Europe? And I would go on this last tour. So obviously London. London blew me away, by the way.
How so?
London is the queen of all cities. Now, again, I'm not super well traveled, but the London felt like the capital of the world. Like in terms of like the imperial, like just the grandeur of it. And then I was blown away by just how much culture there was in London. Like just walking around Soho and just that whole area, Kensington. There's literally a shop, not just one shop. There's like multiple shops for literally anything you can think of, like any sort of interest, passion. It's there. Like, and then there's so many bars and pubs that are. It just goes on for miles, and they're packed, and like there's a pulse and a liveliness to London that now again, I haven't been to Paris, I haven't been to Istanbul, I haven't been to Tokyo, I haven't been to Hong Kong. So there's other cities, but like, I had never experienced anything like that. And then like in the States, like I was texting people back here, I was like, oh my God, London just destroys all American cities in terms of culture. And like, I'll put that to the test. The only city that can maybe stand up to it here in the States is New York City. New York City's pretty freaking impressive. LA is just so spread out, and LA's got the Hollywood, LA's considered a jewel for its own reasons. But yeah, LA's different. LA's kind of like a weird sort of fantasy land. But
I regret. I was pinging my editor Simon. He lives in Birmingham in England, and I regret not putting two and two together. I would have been like, hey, try to make one of these shows because you guys played. I don't know where Birmingham is in comparison to London.
We didn't go to Birmingham.
Yeah. You went to Carlisle. What is it, Blackpool or something? In London.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a UK run that preceded the European run, and it was so cool to be able to see that, man. Like, so we did London, Blackpool, Carlisle, Edinburgh, Scotland. Edinburgh is so awesome. That's my number 2. Edinburgh is fucking rad. Have you been there?
No, I've never been to Scotland. I've always wanted to go, especially after Train Spotting.
Consider that as your backup. If weather's not a factor, if weather is a factor, 100% you want to go to Greece because Greece is beautiful. I was in Thessaloniki and Athens; both were awesome. But if you don't care about weather and you're cool with all that, and you just if you want to feel like you're in like a medieval epic, just fantasy adventure, go to Edinburgh, Scotland. It is fucking cool, dude.
You were saying you can't really drink very much if you're maintaining your vocals, but did you have any scotch?
No scotch, but I had a few drinks. Out there, of course I did.
I love scotch. I'm on one of my epic on the wagon that I think is going to last a while. I'm going to try to go a year maybe, but man, when I do drink though, I love scotch, man. I love good scotch.
Yeah, I never developed a taste for it, but you know what? How about this? Next time I see you, are you doing the cigar thing? Remind me that.
Yeah.
Are you a cigar guy?
Yeah, but still, I love cigars.
I like cigars too. Now, does this have anything to do with James Hetfield? James Hetfield's a big cigar guy now, or have you always been one?
No, but it has definitely overlapped. I didn't start smoking cigars because of him. I just thought it was, I don't know. You don't inhale. It feels relatively safe. I have one maybe once a month. I'm not a daily thing. So I wasn't worried about like the health concerns with it. And I really enjoy it. And I think I've developed a palate enough to really kind of know the difference, not maybe entirely, but enough to get pleasure from like understanding the taste of each and the notes and all that stuff. But I did 2 videos. One was on James Hetfield's Blackened, and then another one on his Shade to Black, which is both by Drew Estate, which are solid cigars. When I went, I didn't even know he had that. I didn't know he had his own brand. I came across it, I think, at the cigar shop. No way. And I'm pretty good buds with the cigar guy there, and he's like, hey, you want some swag with this? And he gave me this explorer shaped cigar ashtray.
That's awesome.
Based off of his Explorers.
Okay. Actually, I have a cool James Hetfield story for you, but it has to be off the air.
Okay.
No, trust me. When I tell you, you'll understand. But and you just print that. That'll be a tease for people. Oh, what you talking about? But that one has to be. I can't tell you that one on the air.
No, yeah, okay. I'm excited for that.
So, my dad used to smoke cigars, and I originally did it. I'm not a regular smoker. I just kind of like to. There's something like. I think it was the activity of it, of like it's so relaxing to just sit there, smoke a cigar, puff on a cigar. have a scotch, have a brandy, and you're just chilling. You're just chilling with some good people, having some good conversations. So I didn't really like, I guess, appreciate the cigar. I mean, I always kind of I like the way it smells. Like I don't necessarily like the taste, but I've kind of developed a taste for it too, you know. And I've kind of like, hey, I'm actually kind of enjoying this. You know, it's kind of like in many ways drinking alcohol. Like when you first have it, you're like, oh, this is terrible. But over the years, I don't know. Like I've developed a taste for it, and now I'm like, I actually really like this. So
yeah,
go figure.
Oh, it's a great social thing. I went to my first cigar bar. I was in Nashville recently. I'd never been to a cigar bar, and had a fantastic scotch with a friend, and had a cigar inside, and it was just so delightful, man. And I just love chatting. And me and my brother
we'll do that.
We have cigars together, man. I love it. It's just the best.
We'll do that next time I see you, man. Whether you're out here, there's a really good cigar bar not too far from me down here in Costa Mesa, and then I mean, you and I can go. We'll go into we'll go. Tell you what, we'll brave the swamp and we'll go into DC.
Yeah, I bet there's got to be some good ones in DC. I just haven't.
I'm sure there is. DC, Washington DC does have some cool shit. I just like that. I like to visit there as a tourist because I see how intense it is, and I know something about politics, and I know you do too. And like, God damn it, dude! Like, I would not want to be in that world. Like, I don't envy anyone that position, especially when you kind of know how it works a little bit. You're like, oh God, like I couldn't do that. Like, and I guess some people need to do that, and I guess you have to have the ego and the narcissism and the you have to have these kind of negative traits to just be able to operate in that world. And supposedly you're doing it for a greater good. Hopefully you are, you know, and you just don't lose your soul along the way. But I no, thank you. I'm all right where I am. It's
you know, maybe we should get into it a little bit. I just wrote a thing. I've been writing on Substack. I don't know if you know Substack.
A little bit. You told me a little bit about it.
Oh yeah. And I took a hiatus over the holidays, and I was kind of just exhausted from the whole political season and election and everything.
Yeah. I was overseas when I was. I'll say one thing before, because we could talk Kings of Thrash forever because there's still more to talk. But to sort of put a little bit of a pause on that. We were overseas in the when the election happened, and I was so grateful because, man, David Ellison and I would talk about this all the time. We'd be like, thank God we're over here because, man, it is the politics is so toxic here. We don't have to, because it kind of is negative. You know, maybe we don't have to spend that much time on that, but it really is. It really is, and it really affects people emotionally. And man, does it drag people down? And for me to get a month away from that, that changed me a lot, man, because I kind of was obsessive about it too. And it's not good for your mental health. It really isn't. And especially too, when you kind of take a step back and you realize, like, dude, you're not a peasant. That's a wrong way to look at it because that's like discouraging. And it's like, no, like the United States and democracy, like, participate, do it. Even if you feel like a freaking peasant, like, do it, be a part of it, you know? But that being said, it's like, keep it in perspective. It's like these really powerful elite people, like, they probably don't care that much about you. Don't take it personally. You know, so if your side doesn't get elected or something happens, like, it's really not the end of the world. And if you're going to do something crazy because of that, you're probably going to regret it later because that person or that cause that you're supposedly championing probably could care less about you. So just try not to take it so hard.
I don't know how that message gets through to people that are in that category, because that's certainly not, you know, radical middle, right? I mean, radical. No. I mean, like Trump. This is what I've been writing about. Is, you know, I have my reservations about Trump, and I didn't vote for him. But when he got elected, I wasn't crestfallen or anything. I was just, It was more like, huh, that's interesting. And this whole
Yeah.
piece I wrote recently was about how you're radical middle if you're invigorated when you are wrong, which is the antithesis of politicians. Because you gotta politicians, when they're wrong, they still have to defend their flawed premises to toe the party line. But in radical middle, at least this is what I'm saying, is I was like invigorated by it. I'm like, man, I overestimated because I thought he wasn't going to win, and I was wrong. And I was like, wow, I overestimated this, I underestimated this, and I was just really curious, and it made me excited to like kind of dissect how I got it wrong because I want to learn because I'm curious.
Wow, this is
You know?
interesting. So a central premise to radical middle is invigoration when proven wrong. I like that on so many levels. Like just that sort of thesis statement. Like hey, I have my opinions, I have my beliefs. When I am proven wrong, I am not going to get overly defensive about it. Rather, I'm going to be invigorated because it's a chance to learn and grow. I mean, man,
Yeah.
if there are people, there's ever a life lesson in general, radical middle, just life. That is a huge statement. It's like, hey, no, man, when I'm proven wrong, it actually excites me. That's cool.
I'm glad you say that because that's, we had 3 tenets already that, bring dignity to the discourse, your testimony to the table, and then clarity comes through engagement. So I'm working on that as the 4th tenet. I'm trying to think of maybe a more clever way to say it, but that's what it is. Be invigorated when you're wrong. And if you are invigorated, that's a good sign because it means you're curious and you want to learn and you're a decent human being.
Hey, a bunch of you guys are watching the videos, but you're not subscribing. Please hit like and subscribe and help us break out this channel in 2025. And you'll get authenticity, you'll get dignity in the discourse, you'll get inspiration from those who overcame massive challenges to be successful where they are. More heavy metal, more politics in the radical middle, and more great content coming your way. But you gotta subscribe. Help break us out. Talk to you soon.
You really got to dive into each individual issue. Like that's what I feel like you got to do. Like you don't want to do your little news headline talking points. Like because if you really want to get into it, you got to get into the issues. But I feel like radical because again, the country and the world went through such a stressful time with the pandemic, and I feel like in a lot of ways that because of the lockdowns, you were sort of forced to become political, and I was not a fan of the lockdowns, not at all, and for various reasons, especially now on this side of it, years later with COVID still around, kind of like, okay, did we really need to go through that? But anyways, but one of the reasons why I really didn't like it was it shoved people together, and there was like literally nothing else to do but like watch your screen because you were like you're kind of counting down the days of like, hey, when can I go back to this? Like when can I go back to my life? Like that's like your central focus, and then like you're the only one that can tell you when you can go back to your life. The only way you get that message and that information is by turning on the news. So like you were kind of stuck and forced to. Now again, of course you weren't, and the true innovative person, which I wasn't, found ways around it, and God bless those people. I mean, but that was not me, and a lot of people. That was not us. Like we got sucked in and we got pulled into the trap, but I felt like it was an easy trap to fall into, which is why I wasn't a big fan of it. And it's just like you're glued to this box that's telling you what to do, and because you're a captive audience, I feel like people got really really riled up at that time, and that's kind of where radical middle was born. Is now people are starting to say crazy things politically that we didn't. I mean, there's so many reasons for this. There's because the people that are on the extreme right and on the extreme left, I'm sure they can make their case, which you and I probably would not agree with, but to them, they have their case, they have their reasons, they have their statement, their beliefs as to why they're doing these things, and there's probably little kernels of truth in each of them. But the point that I think we're making is that you and I grew up in a America where, hey, look, man, my neighbor voted for Bush. Okay, that family votes for Bush. That family votes for Clinton. That family votes for Bush. That family votes for Dole. That family votes for Obama. That family votes for Bush. Okay, it's different. Okay, I don't agree with you. Okay, I don't see that, but I don't hate you. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not going to target you. I'm not going to throw shit at your car. I'm not going to stalk you or humiliate you. Like, I'm just not going to do that. You know, like, I just don't believe we should do that. You know, and things have changed. I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing this. Is like, oh wow, there's a lot of people that don't live and let live the way they used to. And again, they have their reasons, they have their case. I don't think it justifies extremism. They would disagree, but here we are.
I wonder if it would be this volatile if there wasn't a pandemic, or I wonder how it'd be different. Because you know, like
it was headed that way. It was headed that way, anyways.
Probably, but you kind of caught my ear when, because that is when radical middle started with us, and I just find that kind of interesting. That was a pandemic-born thought and something that I wanted to develop through something like through this type of stuff. I wonder if that would have been born without it, or if there would have been space for that to blossom.
It was happening. It was already happening. And again, I think there's various world factors. That's why. And again, the thing about politics is because I think you and I read about it. So I feel like, man, you could go on and on about certain subjects. Like let's just gloss over it maybe, and then we can go back to the fun stuff because I mean we could be here for hours. But like, okay, so for example, like I think one of the reasons why people would say like. Take that point. Like, okay, Chaz and Jesse, the America you grew up in the 1990s, you know, people were much more civil because it was a much different world. Whereas nowadays, this is 30 years later-ish, 30, 40 years later, call it that. Like that's multiple generations. So like the world has changed. Opportunities, like if you were raised in that time period with those values and those beliefs, like a lot of that stuff doesn't work. And maybe I'll just focus on this issue here because we'll talk about like frustrated, maybe young people who tend to go radical, right? There's a lot of people that go radical, but let's just talk about frustrated young people, you know, maybe as a subset, as an example. And this one, because again, I'm an older millennial, but like, and I also went back to school at a later age. So a lot of my friends are kind of like 6 or so years younger than I am. So right smack in the middle of that millennial demographic. But I noticed this, like, I think a lot of them are pissed justifiably because, or whatever, but they have a case like because they were raised to believe, like, just take education, for example. Hey, look, I go to school. I do all the things you tell me. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to follow the rules. And because of this system that you told me, let's get this pop up right here. Because of this system, things will work out. What the hell? Are we still good?
Yeah.
Okay, just got a notification. And they're finding as they enter, you know, adulthood or even are headed towards middle age, like a lot of them are nowhere near where they expected to be. You know, and a lot of them, and this is why I think a lot of people have lost faith in capitalism, and they question the all of that stuff, and they're really because they see vast amounts of inequality. They see they've accumulated a huge amount of student debt, and the cost of living now is so high that it is just about impossible to make a living off of a lot of entry-level jobs. It's not possible. So like that cynicism, they're so cynical because of that. And why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be? You'd be like, dude, what the fuck? Like this system that you promised us everything, it's so not what we're struggling, and we did everything right. What the hell? You know, so that lends itself to, okay, well, now we have to burn down the whole system. Which is, dude, like, do you really want to do that? You know, because like then now you got to get into history and where it came from, and like like there's a lot of good things that capitalism generated, and it brought wealth and prosperity to lots of people. So I don't, I'm not one of these people that's like, hey, let's burn the system down. Like okay, so first of all, I'm not one of these people who thinks that like, okay, well, that's just life, blah blah blah, tough shit. You know, that's the way it goes. You know, and that's too cold-blooded, man. You've got so many people out there that are not benefiting from the system. If you want to radicalize them, have that sort of attitude towards people. Oh, go fuck yourself. You know, too bad. Just work harder, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. That's going to piss people off. So it's like we need to acknowledge corruption. We need to acknowledge unfairness. We need to acknowledge things in the system that don't work, legitimate arguments, and we got to work to correct those. We have to work to, and again, issue by issue by issue. But I think the issue, the reason why there's so many young people that are more radical now than probably we saw growing up is, I think that's why, you know, and I think that, you know, rather than telling them to piss off, you know, it would be better to kind of acknowledge their grievances, acknowledge shortcomings, acknowledge shit that didn't live up, and rather than giving them a justification to sort of burn shit down, acknowledging that shit's corrupt and needs to be reworked, you know. That's part of it. And again, the other side, of course, too, there is a reality to life that, you know, not everybody gets ahead, not everybody succeeds. That's also true too. But, you know, somewhere in the middle, you know, is trying to work it out. Cut a deal, you know.
I agree with everything you said.
You know,
I agree with everything you said, and it is a pretty poignant that it, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps for that many people is probably not effective, like you said. I go back to the whole bring your testimony to the table, and all I have is my own, you know, experience, which was I did all the right things too, and none of it worked. But the turnaround for me, and initially it didn't work, and then the turnaround for me was, okay, I can't blame other people. I have to figure it out, and that the world is not fair. And so how do I win at least enough to survive when the world's not fair? And these things didn't necessarily work. And then what's funny about that is when I kind of took ownership of it, of my own future, like owning my own future, it's weird. Those things actually did kind of work out for me with the, you know, going to college. And then I went to grad school. And then I went to the Marine Corps. Those were boxes that I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Again, kind of doing what I thought I was supposed to do. With the exception of Marine Corps, that was always something I wanted to do. But those boxes ended up working for me. And I kind of got really lucky with that. Because, you know, then again, for me, it was getting into government consulting. And the fact that I had not only bachelor's and a master's degree, but a Marine Corps experience and clearances, you know, just was a pretty big combination. But none of that came together for me until in my mind I'm like, it's up to me, and then it kind of worked for me. So I struggle with that a little bit, because I think there is in that testimony I had to pull myself up by my bootstraps.
I mean, there's truth to that statement. Like it's just very brutally honest, and I think it's somewhat I think it's too dismissive. It feels like this.
I agree.
You know, and it's just too harsh. It's just like, because I feel like, because you know, in my respect, you know, and things have worked out for me, you know, now and for a while. And again, you hope that success and prosperity continues for all of us. But it worked out. Like I had to find you had a very not normal path, as did I, and I something that I've accepted where because I have created some areas of my life where there's parts of my life that I'm really happy with, and there's other parts that I'm not happy with. But like for the stuff that's working for me, it's like, dude, I literally kind of had to create my own normal, because like this checkbox of things, and you could also argue how much is that really, that blueprint of life. Yeah, how much does that really work for anybody? But again, there was a blueprint, right? It just is, like, okay, well, grow up, go to college, work hard. Hopefully you meet somebody, start a family, get a job, get a career, put your time in, sacrifice, and things will work out for you, and there's so many people that it just doesn't, they have to kind of.
Well, and also for me, I don't know if it was the same for you, but I think I just made it to where those bucks that I checked actually did pay off, but I don't think they're paying off anymore. I think education's messed up. I keep telling my wife, if Andy doesn't want to go to college,
dude. Education is a mess, dude. And you got a master's. I graduated law school, and I'm grateful for the experience and some of the doors that opened. But oh my God, education is a mess. And I think that's a big bipartisan issue that a lot of people can hopefully agree on. That, like, oh my God, what kids are being charged with nowadays, it's ridiculous. Like, that's something that I think you can target, open fire, and just unload on that. Okay, so you don't have to tear down the whole system, but if you want to talk about an area that needs reform, higher education, big time. Like, it doesn't mean burning everything down, but wow, yeah, I feel like people are getting screwed 100%. But because again, we could go on and on about that, but we're probably talking about the same thing, just not cost effective. It's not worth. It's turning out for so many people not to be worth this expense in time and money, and it's just like, dude, it is a bad deal.
It's a racket.
A lot of people. It's a racket.
It's a racket. I joke with Anna that Cammy, and I'm half kidding. But I'm like, Cammy's going to be a welder. She's going to trade school.
My man, dude. My man, like, half joking, because it's crazy, and I mean, there's a historical reason as to why education was so valued, probably for our parents, because education at again, 30, 40 years ago was very valuable, but values of things change over time, and 2025 is not 1995. It's not 1985. It's not 1975. So there you go.
Yeah, man.
But
all right,
should we work our way back to the? Yeah, let's bring it back.
Okay, you gotta tell me what's the juiciest thing you can share publicly about working with these legends of rock and roll, thrash, metal. Are their favorite era, are their idols?
There's Megadeth secrets that I can never share. Sworn to secrecy. It's not my business. I'm not a member of that band, so it's up to the band members to share those stories. What are some fun ones? I'll tell one that's really, really cool. Oh man, juicy. How juicy? I don't know.
It doesn't have to be juicy is the wrong word. Maybe just fun is the right word.
Fun. God, dude, so many fun moments, man. God, okay, let me just get my head back into. The most? I dig. I dig everybody in the band. I've got a good relationship with all of them. I dig Chris Poland a lot, man. I mean, I think Chris is really, really chill. He was my travel buddy in Australia. He's just a cool guy, man. Like, and that's a guy that I was in awe of. I mean, I was inspired to play with all of them, but Chris, the first time I played with Poland, and I was just like, holy shit, like, wow. Like, man, the way it sounds on the record is exactly how it sounds. Like, I'm not hearing any flubs. I'm not hearing anything. This is clean and it's butter. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Chris Poland. Holy shit. And then butter, and then just kind of getting to know him, and he's got a good sense of humor. He's just a really cool, down to earth guy, and just chill. Like, I like it when Chris Poland's around, because he brings a sense of calm and laid back. And not that he's not intense about certain things, but like, he's just a chill guy. And like, he's it's cool to be around that. So get along real good with Chris.
He said there might be some new music. Let's talk.
Oh, so yeah. So you get back to I'll try. If something comes up, a memory.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool memories, but if one stands out, I'll let it know. So yeah, so now like I said, Kings of Thrash. We talked about. We did try to kind of do. We dabbled in some new music, just stylistically to see what would work. And I think we want to. We just the fans. I think they want to hear thrash metal, right? I mean, I think that's who comes to the show. I think we kind of know what they want to hear, and I think we're gonna get back to doing something that just fucking not that I mean it's just the other material. It does rock, it rips, but it's like more complicated and more progressive, and I think that we want to just beat people down and with some thrash metal.
You're in a band called Absolution. How many years was that for?
Absolution was about 2004 to 2008, so only 4 years. We had a debut EP, self-financed, self-released, called The Revelation Diaries. Okay, here's a really cool moment. Being at the Megadeth, the VIPs are always super cool. Those are probably highlights. And meeting the fans and seeing the Megadeth collections, and then when the fans will ask me and Fred, they'll bring down like their copies of like Rust in Peace and shit, or Peace. I guess it sort of makes sense to have them because we perform the albums live. But they're like, "Oh no, I want you to sign my Megadeth stuff." I look at Fred, he looks at me, I'm like, "Oh, I get okay." Well, I'm not going to say no. So, but it's cool. A handful of times, people have brought Absolution stuff to the freaking.
No way, that's awesome.
To the fucking VIP stuff, and I'm like, dude, this is so cool. I'm like, where did you find this? So they have our album, and it's cool because we put a lot of love into it. I'm proud of a lot of the stuff we did in Absolution. It was a brand new band, probably trying to do things that were a little bit outside of our abilities. But I mean, we came close. There are some really cool songs on that debut album. The album as a whole is probably a little bit too bloated. And again, I think it would have, the second Absolution album was going to be shorter and much more focused. Again, just a learning experience. No one knows what the hell they're doing, but there were definitely some cool songs on it and some stuff that I'm proud of. But yeah, seeing people, so when people bring that album, and have me sign it, I'm like, it's just, I'm like, wow, I people know this. So like, it's cool. And over the years, I have received occasional fan mail about Absolution, but yeah, to your point, yeah, there's so much material. So we are working on some original stuff for Kings. We'll see. It's definitely thrashy. It's definitely metal. It's headbanging shit. And I was looking back at all the stuff I have written. I have like an entire second Absolution album written. I have like, and then when you start writing again, this is what's so cool. This is what I forgot about writing. And it's almost concerning because it becomes like consuming. Like you get so into songwriting and it's so much fun and so much time goes by. Like the other day I was working on a song and I was like, I stayed up till like 1 o'clock in the morning, just so excited thinking about this song. Like I go to bed thinking about the song. I wake up at like 8 o'clock. I skip breakfast. I don't shower. I just pick up my guitar and start working on it. And it's cool. It's cool to be that like excited by it. But it's like, oh my God, like this stuff can consume your life.
Well, I think that's a sign that you're a songwriter, bro.
I love writing. But I love it. And I hadn't thought about it, because I think this is a good topic. Like trying to break an original band is so difficult. It's so hard. And that's something like I have a lot of stuff written over the years, a lot of stuff that I'm really proud of. I think is really fucking cool. I was actually just talking with Tony Montana, guitar player of Absolution, because prior to forming Absolution, we had shared some original ideas. So he mentioned some stuff. He reminded me of some stuff that I sent him like 7 years ago. He's like, dude, this shit's fucking cool. He's like, you should.
Yeah, right.
Tony is still in anesthesia, yeah.
Nice.
And we're still buddies. And he's like, dude, he's like, record that song with an actual band. He's like, that song was sick. And I listened to it again. I'm like, wow, that was pretty cool. So, but the point being is, I have so much material over the years, and it's like I'm kind of waiting for the right time and the right, because if you're going to put all that work into trying to start a new band, you want to make sure that it's, again, there should be no expectations because there isn't, like, I mean, you never know. Like, it's so, you should play music because you love it, not because you have any kind of expectations of getting anywhere. So just put that as a backdrop. But look, it would be cool to have some stuff out there. And now that I played with Kings of Thrash for a few years, people are more probably, they know a little bit who I am. So there's established musicians who know me now, who I'm excited to work with, and I've talked about doing collaborations with them. I've got other collaborations that I've worked on over the years, and I feel that now the time is right. I've got all this material written over the years. Whether Kings of Thrash decides to use it would be cool. Like I said, I've definitely brought ideas to the table that they like. And again, it's how much time can we invest, because we're so busy. But we'll try it. We'll see what happens again. And if there's local bands, I've got a lot of people that want to play with me. So I don't know if we'll see what happens with Kings of Thrash, or maybe this just all exists online. And I have just several different songs with different collaborations. I mean, I don't know what that looks like yet, but I have a lot of material and a lot of stuff that I think is cool, that I'm proud of, and that I want to get out there with Kings of Thrash or with other players. And there's much talk of this. This is the 2025 focus for Chaz.
Oh yeah, no, that's
musician.
exciting.
Yep.
Speaking of time, when's the next tour plan? Do you have dates or anything like that, or thoughts?
Nothing solid. We've got some stuff planned for the summer. We've got possibly shorter runs is what we're looking at, but I don't think anything till the summer. I think we have been quite busy. When you look back at the last 2 years, we have done a lot, especially for a band at our level. So I think we're kind of, taking the gas off the pedal a little bit, letting people sort of focus on their other projects, working on original material. And I think in the summer, and late 2025, 2026 is when we'll get back out there. But yeah, I mean, there's offers, stuff all across the world. South America, we didn't get you in 2024.
DC?
South America, Latin America.
Washington, D.C.?
North American tours, always a possibility. We're trying to get up to, we didn't do the Bay Area or like the Pacific Northwest, so we want to hit that.
Right.
I'd love to get back to the East Coast, but definitely I know we want to do South America big time, because there's a huge demand there. Japan Brazil, as well. So that's probably the next foreign adventure. And of course, the festivals of Europe, 2025, 2026. So
nice, man. That's cool.
Keep it posted. You never know what can come up. There's always offers. There's always stuff being discussed, but not till summer or late 2025, probably.
You're still playing with Woke Up Dead, I assume?
Still doing Woke Up Dead. We've got some stuff booked. Still doing Black Days, the Soundgarden tribute. That's been on hiatus for a bit. We've got some stuff booked too. Looking forward to getting back to that. And then yeah, just learning, taking this year to kind of really, like I said, to pivot, to not do the tribute and cover stuff, because it's just fun, and it keeps you active and it forces you to practice. But to pivot towards some originals, just because I want to do it, and I got some stuff that I think is cool that and get some great players to play on it, and just see what happens, and then there's.
With Black Days and Woke Up Dead, when I watch those videos, they're massive crowds, dude. I mean, it's just I think
we're getting bigger crowds,
and I think about if I were to start a Megadeth cover band out here, I don't think we would be. I don't know if it would get that kind of crowds. Or Metallica might be the only thing. And I don't think there's many Metallica cover bands.
Yeah, we just did a show with Damage Inc. It was Damage Inc., Woke Up Dead, a Slayer tribute called Slatanic, and a Suicidal Tendencies tribute. There were 2,000 people at the House of Blues for that. So that's
amazing.
Fucking cool. That's rad.
I saw that.
So,
yeah, it's awesome.
But what? Yeah, But the tribute band, so it's interesting too, because, you know, I got back into music after fucking law school. I mean, I started anesthesia because I was such a wreck mentally after law school. I was in shock with like, oh my God, what did I just sign up for? Even though I'd gotten out of it, I was like, oh my God, am I really going to just resign my life to just this? Like, I can't do this, you know? So I was like, I need to do something that's gonna, you know, that's more for me that I love doing. I'm like, I just got to play metal. I got to rock.
Yeah.
And then that's how anesthesia started. So I started, you know, what was that? Maybe like 5-6 years ago. 6, I don't know, whatever, 6, 7, I don't know. Call it 6 years ago, whatever. But that's where it came from. And so I started. So after Absolution, I took a long break from music, and then I got back. So there was zero goals, zero expectations with anesthesia. It literally just play for a bunch of drunks at a bar. That's how we started. We played these open mic nights at the 710 Beach Club for a bunch of drunks and, you know, hot chicks, you know, coming in from the beach. And I was perfectly content with that, you know. And then, you know, you see the reaction that you get, and then people are just like, hey, look, dude, you guys are much better than your, you know, typical cover band. You know, you just book more, and then the crowds come, and then, you know, my confidence kind of came back with musical abilities. Woke Up Dead came, and then more and more people wanted to work with me. But I had that mindset. It's funny because Black Days, you've got some experienced musicians there, you know, Dennis, Nikki, Greg, especially Nikki and Greg are really, really experienced. And so I think they saw somebody with me who had like who had some experience, but had more just kind of raw talent. But I approached that band, you know, from the coming up from the bars, you know, being like, okay, I have no problem being a bar guy. I don't care, you know, but they had sort of bigger goals and they kind of knew the what it was to get to another level. I mean, Black Days has played for some decent sized crowds too.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is like I came up. It's just time. Like I said, I didn't mind playing the dive bars and just making a lot of noise, and then slowly the tributes, and they just, like any other band, you build a following and you build a reputation, and then people just, you end up having a following, and then now people want to come see you, you know. And of course Kings of Thrash was huge for me. You know, it put me out there to a lot more people, and it raised my status a lot. So and here we are. Well, and hopefully we keep doing this, you know.
Yeah.
That's the goal. But no expectations. I just love playing, and it's one of those things. And maybe this is a cool thing. I know I'm chatting a lot, but when I remember when I was in law school, and I was like, it was like a miserable night of studying, dude, of just pure misery, with my head in like a fucking contracts book at like 2:00 in the morning at the library, just questioning all sorts of life decisions. What am I doing with myself? And I was like, okay, Chaz, like, what would you do if you made it all the way through this law? Like, first of all, why the hell law school? It is money. You know, that's the only reason why I did it, is I wanted to make a decent amount of money. I was like, okay, so let's say you do, what would you do if you had money? Because obviously this shit's not making you happy. It's miserable. What would you do? Like, if you didn't have to worry about that. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I'd start a band. I'd go back to playing bands. Like, that's definitely one of the things that I would do if I had not to worry about money again. So I was like, well, what the fuck are you waiting for? You're not getting any younger. Just play. Yeah. Just go do it. Let me ask you here, just to close on. I'll just a couple quick questions. Best concert or concerts that you saw in 2024. Let's do this.
I feel like the only live shows I go to are Mastodon. Mastodon had a secret show to kick off their Ashes of Leviathan tour. So they kicked that off at a secret show in Atlanta. And they disguised the poster. They called themselves Big Hairy Elephant. People realized it was a Mastodon secret show, and so tickets just flew off the racks. I didn't even try to go because I was like, "There's no way." But that sounds like fun. And then a buddy, a Facebook buddy of mine, who just we're both huge fans. He said, "Hey, I got an extra ticket. You want to come down?" And I was like, I don't know. It was like on a Tuesday night, or maybe it was a Wednesday night. I'm like, I had to work and everything. And Anna was like, just go. You got to go down there. This is huge. So I went down. And that was by far the best because we're just hanging out. It's at a dive bar. It's Mastodon. They're just,
dude, that is epic.
At a small, tiny venue. And they're walking about, talk to Bill. Didn't really talk to the other guys, but they're like right here. Didn't want to bother them. It didn't seem like it was their hometown. I didn't want to be like the fan guy.
That was a hell of a show. I saw him at the Forum. So not exactly a dive bar, but that was a hell of a show.
But it was cool. You know what was great about it? It's funny. I'm wearing their shirt, Palaces. I met these guys. They knew me from a Mastodon fan page.
Yeah.
And I did a guitar giveaway for Radical Metal. And so they were familiar with me from that. And they recognized me when I walked in. They're like, "Hey, you're Jesse, blah, blah." So we hit it off. And then, so they opened up for Mastodon. And I never really, I heard of them kind of through Facebook, but I love their music. They killed it. And now I'm like really good friends with all those guys. And Bill Kelleher from Mastodon is producing their next record.
Dude.
Which is just insane. So actually the drummer from Palaces, he was on last year too. He's coming back on the next Thursday, I think. I'm going to interview him.
Awesome.
He's into politics too. And he's right-leaning, but he's like you, man. Like, we can talk and we don't. Nobody gets like fired up or anything or mad.
Yeah. Have a discussion about it. You know, just that's all it is. That's more than all it is. That's huge.
Okay, so that would be by far the best one. But what was yours? Playing?
I saw some great. There's the playing was great. One of the big standout shows we played was Athens, Greece. That crowd was insane. Okay, but back to the shows that I saw. I saw a lot of good shows. Mastodon and Lamb of God was up there. You know, it was a really cool show. I have to say, I went to the Santa show at the Hollywood Bowl. That was dude. I was blown away. That was an awesome
Wait, what band? I missed it.
It's called Santa, and it's if you're a Maynard James Keenan fan. So it was Perfect Circle.
His 60th birthday tour.
And I went to the 60th birthday show on 4/20 at the Hollywood Bowl. It was awesome. I wish my only gripe, I hadn't been to the Hollywood Bowl in so long. So like my friend and I, we sat a little bit too far back. I was like, what the hell are we doing this far? Like come on, you and I could both afford to sit closer. Like, what the hell are we doing? You know, so, but it was it was literally a last minute decision. I had no idea we were going to get tickets. When people told me, they're like, you have to go see the show. So we went to go see it. And it was Primus, Pucifer, and A Perfect Circle. So, it was Maynard's.
Cool?
What's that?
Did Tool? I thought it was Tool too.
Oh, I'm going to get to that. And so we're out there, and I'm a fan of all three bands. I'm just a big Maynard James Keenan fan. I think his projects are incredible. I also like Primus. So it was a 3-hour extravaganza where you had Primus played 3 songs, then Perfect Circle played 3 songs, and then Pucifer played 3 songs, and they just kind of cycled the whole time. And it was like a 3-hour show, really good set list, and just an amazing vibey performance. It's the 60th birthday party. And I'm impressed that Maynard James Keenan at 60 years old can deliver a performance like that. I'm like, oh God, anything's possible. So, it's inspirational. But so we're out there. It's like the second to last song, and he's got this policy at the show where he's kind of a stickler about no cell phones. And I kind of grumbling, like, come on, dude, it's 2025, like, really? But like, you kind of get it, you know, when there's a moment during that concert where like I'm looking around, like no one's on their phones, like everybody's into this performance, like this is the way it should be, like it's much more of a connection that way. So on the last and I think he made a comment about it. He's like, I'll let you guys, you guys can film the last fucking song. So before the last encore, he's up there. He's like, okay, so remember when I said I was gonna let you guys film the last fucking song? He's like, I'm gonna let you film the last two. And he's like, how about that? The crowd kind of gets into it. He's like, what do you say, Danny? Does that sound good to you? Danny? Who the fuck is Danny? Danny Carey comes walking out on the stage, and Danny Carey like shakes his head. He's like, I don't know. What do you guys think? And then the other two guys, Adam and Justin, come out. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, is that Tool? Like the crowd just erupts. We're just like, what's going on? And he's like, okay, we're gonna let you film this song. Danny Carey sits down behind the drum set, and Maynard James Keenan just goes,
Yeah.
and they start doing Anima, and I'm like, oh my God. So they so Tool showed up and did a guest performance, and it was incredible. So, and I'm a huge Tool fan, so that was probably my favorite concert of last year.
Gosh, yeah, dude.
It was awesome.
Man, that would have been amazing.
I saw Maiden, I saw Megadeth, I saw some good shows.
So you're playing all over the place, and you're still taking time to see some great shows. That's cool.
You have to. Well, man, I feel like we could go on forever, but
well, there'll be more times. Should I hit the record button or stop recording and you tell me that James Hetfield story?
You remember that? Yeah, I will. But let's do a little closing. I mean, I feel like this one makes up for the last sort of mishap one we had, right?
Yeah, that last one, there was not anybody's fault. I just feel like there wasn't a whole lot of magic to it or something.
No, it wasn't. I agree. Like I remember, I hadn't eaten that day, and I think we got right into the politics. And the politics, man. I mean, that is a touchy subject, man. But that's why I love radical middle. And again, like combining the heavy metal with the moderate sort of dialogue, or what was your third tenet? It was clarity
comes through
engagement. Yes.
Yeah, man.
That's just huge. That is huge, man. And then the being invigorated when you're proven wrong. Like those two things, man, just awesome stuff. Good life lessons, I think.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, I really take that stuff seriously, and for some reason feel pretty strongly about people communicating and doing it the right way. I mean, look at the alternative. How's that worked out for us?
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And that's what people that I think that are extreme, like, I just don't think they, I mean, again, you were in the Marine Corps. So like, not that I would know, but like, I mean, I don't think that people really understand, like when you go down that road, like, dude, the life, there's still a lot of good things in the world. Again, there are things to be legit frustrated about, which again, that's concerning. Yeah. You don't want to ignore it. You don't want to have your fucking rose colored, things will just be fine. Because that's not true. You do have to address the things that need to be changed. I'm not by any means saying that. But to engage in some extreme acts, I just don't think people want to do that.
It feels sometimes like my mission in life is just to reinforce that radical middle spirit with the few voices that are out there. But I don't know. I might be a losing battle. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just want to preach what I feel.
Yeah.
Is
just
true.
Just engaging in this, I think is good, because whatever people are whatever's going to kind of happen out there is going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if there could be things that have been set in motion that we have zero control over, but just knowing that, like, hey, there are still people out there that are like, no matter how crazy it gets, there are just plenty of people that are like, no, we don't want to live like that, so we just want to enjoy our lives. So,
yeah, cool, man. Well, it's nice to have a brother and an ally in all this.
My brother.
Yes. I really appreciate your time, man. And that was really fun. I think
that was a great one. This was a great one. I dug it. I mean, I feel like I could have gone on and on about. There's more Kings of Thrash stuff I could talk about. More details about the tour.
Maybe part two.
Part two.
Well,
maybe I think we should have a part two.
You to think of some other things, and
there's a lot. I had a very 2024 was a very productive year for me. So I had a lot going on. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was
Hey,
awesome.
well, let's think through that. Maybe we'll do part 2 later in the year.
love it, brother, man. Sure, sounds good.
All right, brother. Hey, good to see you. I'm gonna hit the stop record button.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you about that story.
Okay.
All right. Take care, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.